We are so excited to announce that we have created a brand new Sacred Shift Besties meditation and journaling starter kit, and we're giving it to you absolutely free.
It includes a guided meditation for inner peace created by yours truly,
as well as a beautiful printable journal loaded with prompts to spark self-reflection and gratitude. And you can download it right now by clicking the link in the show notes.
Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm an intuitive coach and mentor.
And I'm Louisa. I'm an awakening coach and energy healer.
And we're your spiritual besties.
We're just everyday women having an extraordinary human experience.
You see, we've both been led down the path of amazing discoveries through the power of spirituality.
So, we're here to share our experiences as we dive deep into all things sacred.
Our hope is that we can contribute to the collective conversation to help you feel less alone and more confident as you walk the path to becoming more connected with the universe.
We'd love for you to join us each week as we share our discoveries and navigate this journey together.
I have a theory that high sensitivity is actually just intuitiveness. And that through the adaptations of what we learn, sensing others and being able to kind of feel things a little bit differently through sort of cultural adaptations, it then has changed the way that we show up, because then we're constantly trying to adapt or adjust based on this level of sensitivity that we feel that doesn't seem like everybody else has that.
I like that. You know, it's interesting. I don't know a lot. I've heard the term a few times, and to have a friend that considers themselves to be a highly sensitive person, but I don't notice a lot of what that means for them. They've just used those words with me. What I do know about my friend is that I consider them to be highly intuitive, to Melissa's point. So yeah, I wonder what the correlation is there, because yeah, I'd love to learn. I don't know what that means, but I'm excited.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts. Yes.
I'm ready.
So high sensitivity is a genetic trait that about 20% of the population has. There are actually like 9 genetic markers that point towards someone having high sensitivity, and it makes them neurologically and biologically more sensitive to the outside world, and especially to their inner world as well. So what this looks like, and I have a recent podcast episode about this, is people who are very empathetic and may often have empathy fatigue if it goes too far. Mm-hmm. People who are very sensitive to their environments and they take in more information and process more information than other people. They tend to be more thoughtful. And I was laughing about the episode you two had where you were like, I just hate small talk. Like, it's so annoying. Why are we even doing it? And I was like, you're highly sensitive people.
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. My friend that considers themselves to be highly sensitive, same, absolutely hates small talks, but I didn't realize that was a part of that. That's so interesting. Yes to all of the things about me. Yes. So, yes.
I was hearing you say, like, I cry every day. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. And I'm so interested in empathizing with people instead of trying to get the next word in or say the next thing. And I was like, yes, highly sensitive.
Yeah.
That's me. Oh, I love that. You know, it's so beautiful when we can, like this moment, just learning what that looks like, right? Because we hear terms a lot. And as I said, you know, but I never actually understood it. So thank you. I feel honestly, to me, that's an honor, because I'm like, I think that highly sensitive people in general, without understanding the meaning of it, just when I think about the words on their own, I love highly sensitive people. They're feeling, they're touching, they're emotional. We'll cry together. We'll laugh together. Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Oh my gosh. That's why I like to work with highly sensitive people, because we are interested in those deep connections. And we do, to your point, Melissa, a lot of us have that intuitive part to us. Like if you look at Myers-Briggs, there's a disproportionate amount of highly sensitive people that have the NF intuitive feeling combination. But I have met some highly sensitive people who are also sensors too, and who just take in the facts and take in the information and they want the structure. So the way that I think about it, and I think about empathy the same way, is that all highly sensitive people are empaths, and most highly sensitive people are intuitives. But not all intuitives and not all empaths are also highly sensitive, because there's also the added component of the physical sensations and the external sensitivity, in addition to the thoughtfulness and the processing that goes along with it.
Hmm. Very interesting. I feel like there is so much overlap and, similarities in all the different sorts of frameworks that we kind of think about. And I think it's really cool because then, whatever you gravitate toward, however you kind of feel pulled in whatever direction, there's a place to kind of learn more about yourself. But I feel like we're all sort of, whatever framework we use, we're all kind of learning the same things or getting that deeper understanding and knowledge about ourselves, which is ultimately the goal, right? At least for all of us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think there's so much value in that. And when we, like the human design that Melissa introduced me to, that word permission has just never left my mind, because that is what I have needed. That has drastically allowed me to step into myself. Like, not that I didn't know who I was fully, but it has allowed me to just throw myself in unapologetically in every aspect. All of the aspects that were missing, it's like, I'm here, she's in control, she's taken over, and she does not care what anybody else thinks. And it's lovely. And that is the goal ultimately, I think, for all of us to be able to step into ourselves, because I think, one, I have this just deep belief that when we love ourselves, it starts like that domino effect of then loving other people, that connection. And then it's like that oneness that we ultimately may never experience in our lifetime, but maybe maybe our kids or our grandkids may experience. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think that is 100% true. I think loving yourself and fully understanding yourself and knowing yourself is incredibly important for having an impact on other people. I mean, just being able to really be you and embody yourself, really embody your true self, is incredibly impactful for other people. And that is the biggest way that we're going to spread our message and help other people, is by truly being authentic and being ourselves to our highest levels. So I love that we got into the little highly sensitive piece here first. But Steph, I also wanted to talk to you about oracle cards and really all things woo-woo today, because you were the person who introduced me to my first experience in person with oracle cards. And it obviously left a huge impression on me, because then I immediately purchased the same set of oracle cards and have used them in my practices every day, and now have 3 sets. What drew you, oracle cards, to that type of guidance?
Well, first, I love that you got your own Lumen Oracle deck. And I feel like this deck is one of those where, like, it wants to be found, and it will use people to be found by other people who are meant to have it. Because I had a similar experience with my mentor, who is a business coach. She's a healer for healers. And so she coaches and mentors people who are like energy workers and Reiki workers and healers and sex and intimacy coaches. And all of her branding had the Lumen Oracle all over it. And I was like, whatever that is, I need it. And I just felt this pull, and I got a deck. Actually, my fiance bought me my Lumen Oracle deck, which was like a huge surprise, because I had it open in my tabs for forever. Like, I'm saving up for this special purchase. And he was like, surprise. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I think I had it for maybe a week or two when we met for coffee. And when I first got it, I was kind of getting attuned to the deck. And I was a little bit afraid, because a friend of mine who has been reading a lot longer than me said, sometimes you don't always like jive with a deck, like you can't hear it very well. And I was like, what if I don't jive with this deck? Like, it would just be heartbreaking for me. So I did like 2 polls, and I was like, oh yeah, like we get each other. Like, yeah, you know what I've got going on. So I was doing all these polls for everybody. And anytime I was on the phone with a friend or with a client, I was like, can I do an oracle poll for you? So when I was heading to coffee to meet you, Melissa, I just had this intuitive ping, like, you need to take your oracle cards with you. And I grabbed it and I took it with me and I was shuffling the cards and we did this like really great reading that it was the universe. Because I remember specifically having the conversation and you were like, oh my gosh, yes, I needed this. And then the next time we met, I was like, oh, I had already left. And I thought, oh, do I need to go back and get my deck? And I was like, no, I don't need to. And then when I got there, you had brought your own like 3 sets. And I was like, this was it. Like, it just wanted to be channeled through me. It got to you. Now, like, you're going to inspire someone else and they're going to pick it up and then they'll pass it to the next person.
Oh yeah. I absolutely agree. And it was so funny because it was the universe card that day. And it was when I was right in the middle of trying to kind of re-find my way and right before that pivot that I made, really. And I had been really, really focused on leaning on guidance and wanting to feel that support and asking for signs if I was making the right decision. And it was so funny because one of the last lines on that card was something about if you're someone who's been asking for a lot of signs, it didn't say exactly this, but basically chill, like just chill. I was like, I feel
I'm feeling called out. I'm seen in a way I don't like right now.
You know this. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed to hear right now. It was just everything that was on there. And I think it truly was just that feeling of like, yeah, like this deck gets me, like you get me and you understand me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need this sort of dialogue. I mean, it's not a dialogue, but it kind of feels like a dialogue a little bit, right? And I need this kind of guidance in my life. I want this. And so it just truly changed that trajectory for me because now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing tool. I think for me, it's almost like this because I am a mental projector and I think through things. I need something. It's not literal, but it's kind of literal. Like it's words saying, listen, here's your message versus just sort of, oh, I feel like this is what I'm getting. Or I kind of saw this vision of something. It's literally spelled out in front of you. Like, this is what you need to hear right now. And it's usually something that I'm like, oh yeah, that was what I needed to hear. And so for me, it's this really helpful tool that's just very literal. Just read it on a card.
Yeah, I think it's so accessible. And as I have been dipping my toe into the witchy woo realm, I'm finding people who are way further down the road than I am. And so there's this temptation to compare myself to someone who has more experience or who is more tapped into that kind of intuition and how it manifests that way for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to decide for myself that I can access this, that I'm allowed to use this tool, that the more tools I have in my toolkit, the more I can learn about myself, the more I can interact with the universe. And when I gave myself permission, as you were saying, Louisa, it just opened up so many possibilities for me. And it's just one of the various ways that I tap into my intuition every day. And it has really changed things for me for the better.
I love that. So oracle cards, I've always heard of them. Can y'all give me, like, I know tarot, I have tarot cards and that I grew up with that very much part of my culture. Like any understanding of it, of oracle cards. So I understand you'll pull one and it gives you a message. I got that. But anything else that could be helpful?
So I think from my understanding, this is truly just my very limited knowledge, that tarot is kind of a specific deck. Like there are specific cards in each deck, and generally it's the same set of cards. It's just, different illustrations, maybe slightly different descriptions of what each thing means. But in general, it's like the Tower card, right? Everybody's heard of the Tower card. From my understanding, that's in every tarot deck. Like that's a tarot card. But I think oracle cards are slightly different in that they're unique. And so it's just a set of cards that someone has developed. And I think most of the time it's through a channeling process where they have developed a set of cards and each card has its own meaning and illustration and description and all of that. But from my understanding, they're all different. So it's not just one specific set of cards.
As far as my understanding, I think you're spot on. And I actually have a tarot deck, the Harmony Tarot, that I do a pull from every day. And then I do my oracle reading too. And the tarot decks are much bigger because they have the major arcana that include things like the Tower or the Priestess or the Empress or the Hierophant, like the ones that are very common. And then it also has minor arcana, which are the suits, which are all usually related to a topic. So there are more cards in a tarot deck that can get really deep into particular topics. And then if you have someone who's really, really good at it, they can figure out, according to the spread, how cards are interacting with each other and what certain messages mean. Like, I had a friend who was doing them for me, which was my introduction, and she's been doing it since she was little, like very adept at it. And she would just, it was like she was predicting the future. Like, she would just know things from the cards. And I'm not at that level, but I find it helpful for guidance in terms of my self-reflection. And the oracle cards are, I think of more of an archetypal system. So it's like somebody took all the major arcana from a tarot deck and then put it into an oracle deck and expanded on it according to whatever their theme or their aesthetic is. So if you like that archetype system, which we all do because that's how personality types work, then an oracle system is a lot more accessible for you because it doesn't necessarily have to interact with anything. They're often, in my experience, meant to be pulled singularly, even if you can do a spread with an oracle deck.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how far along you think you are on your woo-woo journey, but that's pretty far.
Yeah, I think that's,
That was a great
a lot of knowledge there
Yeah.
that you do have. I also wanted to touch on something that you said earlier, and that is kind of this feeling maybe a little bit intimidated when you encounter these different sort of woo-woo type tools like oracle cards or tarot cards or like crystals or anything like that that's sort of used as a tool in this space. And I think it's just that no, we're not experts, and that's okay. Like, everybody starts somewhere, right? So even those people that we see out there, I follow, I don't know how many people who are pulling tarot spreads and telling me everything about what it all means and interpreting things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not there at all. But I think that's, we all start somewhere. They started somewhere too. And that's truly why we started this podcast, right? Was just because we're learning, we're experimenting, we're finding things out, we're finding our way, figuring this all out. And we want other people to know that it's okay. Like, this is where we are, be where you are. And we're all learning and we're all figuring it out as we go. And we're here for it. We're here for that conversation. And we want to show you that this is it. This is how it works. This is how it looks. We're just regular people figuring this all out together. So I love that. I love that you brought that up.
Thank you. Yes, I also love, and I just love your explanation a lot because, like Melissa just pointed out, that is literally the epitome of why with this podcast is because we want to show people like, it's okay. We're all at different places and that's okay. But for me, it's the beauty in this journey, right? There's so much beauty in this journey. And even in the very painful aspects of this journey, because it is, especially at the beginning when I first, my spiritual awakening was kind of like, I realized I was in it because of how much pain I was experiencing. And I think that one of the things I hope that people take away is always that there is so much beauty, because just watching you explain that difference. And like I said, I grew up with tarot cards. It's very ingrained in my culture. I could never explain it like that. Like the way that you just did. Like, I carried tarot cards with me. I'm traveling, it's in my travel bag. They go with me everywhere. But there's so much beauty in that. And, to Melissa's point, we don't need to be at any place other than exactly where we are, because there's beauty there. And that beauty, learn to uncover it, learn to see it, learn to put your feet deep in it. Because there's something there for us to learn in every aspect.
That's a wrap for this episode.
We hope you found some inspiration, a helpful tip, or maybe just a good laugh.
Remember, amazing human, you are not alone on this path to connect with your inner wisdom and the universe.
To stay connected and keep the conversation going, subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast so you never miss an episode.
And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your friends, family, or anyone who might find value in it. Until next time.